Okay, and we're gonna move right ahead, and we're gonna try and get that knocked out today. So let's go forward, and let's first of all address the threat, right, to the vigil, and then hopefully uh, retake Claw Island, because that was the express at the end of the vision, right? We expressed that to the Mother Tree, like, "Hey, we're gonna do this. We're gonna retake Claw Island." She's like, "Yeah, that's good, good idea." But oh, by the way, first, all your friends are in danger. So let's find out exactly what's going on with that. And actually, this for me is kind of a fun one. This is not a terribly long instance, but it is kind of a fun one with everything that's going on here. Now, each order has a version of this. And so, if we were to look at kind of how things go with the different orders, you might even speculate that like all three orders are being struck at once. We're experiencing this with the Vigil, but the Whispers headquarters and the Priory headquarters are also experiencing this. And the question was, and especially if you play Order of Whispers, like, well, how could Zaitan know? Well, Mother Tree mentions to us that those who are corrupted by Zaitan's magic then provide him all their knowledge. And remember, our mentor now has fallen to Zaitan, so presumably, Forgal, in our case, um, may have provided Zaitan, unwillingly, but just the same, may have provided Zaitan the information he needs to strike at the Vigil headquarters here.
War Master, Traherne!
Hey, War Master Ephod.
That inspired your presence. We're
Indeed.
under siege.
Oh no! Well, let's take out the siege engines. There they are. We got some undead trebuchets here.
Blast! What kind of foul magic was that? We must reconfigure our strategy.
Indeed. Let's reconfigure our strategy. What do you got, War Master Ephod? What's your plan now?
Bone walls. Those require powerful magic. We face no mere foot soldiers. There's an Orion Vizier in there.
They cut us off. The Orions are protecting the weaponry that's battering our keep's fortifications. We have to destroy those siege engines.
Vigil Keep has defensive weaponry on the far ramparts, but they were damaged in the first assault. We didn't have the manpower to repair them. If we could clear the walls of undead and safeguard her path to the catapults, Blacksmith Von Heck can fix anything.
Then we'll have to give her that chance. Let's get to the top of the walls and check in with General Soulkeeper.
I salute your bravery, my friend. Strike hard and fast, and we'll guard your back. Form up, Vigil.
Alright, so we're going to have to fight through the enemy lines to get up into the keep so that we can consult with the general on our next course of action here. Ephod is going to have our back. So this huge bone wall that was just put up, we may have already... Oh, that was odd. We may have already seen this in the past if we had previously played... if prior to doing this, we had done Tequatl as an event, we would have seen this before. And in fact, we saw it when Claw Island fell, right? We saw the dragon do something similar to that there as well, I believe. So this is something that we've seen out of Zaitan's forces before, is this ability to construct this bone wall as as kind of a blocking feature.
They'll have to hit much harder. War Master, by the alchemy's twisting cogs.
Wave after wave, still they keep coming.
So there's this idea that the more Zaitan's forces fight us, the stronger they become, simply because they can then flip the dead into more forces for them, right? And we do get some, and in the future we may get some sense of that, because we may see scenarios where those that we know are actually, like, by name, we see them risen. I don't believe we've really seen that much thus far, but we may in the future.
Time to do some
Oh,
damage.
I got carried away. I got out ahead of the general. My bad, general. Where do you go?
Reporting for duty, General. I hope you don't mind that I brought a friend.
War Master, Traherne, good timing. We need every able-bodied soldier we can deploy. Ephod, what's our status?
I must report defeat, ma'am. There's an Orion wizard down there. We weren't able to get through the magical barriers.
Disappointing, but understandable. Secondary recommendations? Anyone?
Ifat says there's a blacksmith who can repair our catapults. Traherne and I can clear the ramparts while Ifat follows behind to protect the civilian.
Once the Orient siege weapons are destroyed, they'll have to lower the magical walls if they intend to continue the attack on Vigil Keep.
Without those walls, I'm confident we'd have been successful, General. This time, there'll be no stopping us.
Excellent. While you do that, the Crusaders and I will defend the wall. Move out.
All right.
The daughter of Bygar,
We got a
one
plan.
of the most legendary Norn-smiths. She can fix anything.
Okay, so we just saw that, by the way. Like, these little tiny things that they insert into the game are really good. This is another area of strength, generally speaking, for Guild Wars 2. ArenaNet usually, not always, but usually does a really good job of stuff like this. So we just get like this little bit of dialogue. Blacksmith Vane is the daughter of Bygarth, one of the most legendary Norn-smiths. We will actually see him later. He becomes relevant to the story at a later point in time. So so for them to insert that way and kind of make that a thing where we get the opportunity to see these connections take place, but never in like a super overstated way. Like, I really don't, it's not like when we then meet Bygarth that the first thing he's going to say is, "You might remember Vane." Like, I don't recall that he says anything of the sort. Yeah, and that line that we just saw, we could have easily missed, right, had we not been paying attention. So they slide these things in, and you really have to sometimes be observant to even catch them, and yet they're there. All right, so there she is. She's going to repair these siege engines, but not until we clear the way for her. And there's a bit here to clear, so we need to get to work, right? Especially since we still have the... I tell you what, the level 60 story, again, crazy. Level 50 is so short. Level 60 is no joke. It's there's a bit that goes into this. And then we're getting to the point pretty soon where, like, every instance of a story is going to be relatively time consuming. And then once we move into Season 1, that's very much going to be like a reality for us. When they redid Season 1, they definitely managed to get the most out of what they did. Alright. So, much like sinking the bone ship here, we need to aim these things in terms of azimuth. And then get kind of our... I actually might have... Oh, we got knocked off. I might have gone a little bit hard on that one. Yeah, I did. It should have been a softer shot. There we go. And each one of these is going to require 2 hits, if I remember correctly. So, ooh, that one might have been too short. Let's see. Yeah, that one was too short. Let's try that. In fact, I'm confident enough about that, we're going to go ahead and aim. Yeah, so we took that one down. So each one requires 2 hits. So with this one, in theory, if I aim well and land it right in between them, then... Ooh, which I did not do there. Then it would be real easy to get rid of both those. Same thing with these two. Where the kind of the splash can take care of what we want. However, I'm not doing a great job of that, so... Oh, I think that was too short. That one's going to knock me off, too. Bam. Alright, well, did we at least take care? Alright, so we got 2 left here. It's a shame, because I have certainly in the past done this much faster, but... So what we could do, if I'm in a bad spot here to aim, is I could come off of this and kind of reposition myself on the siege engine to kind of try and get a better look there. But of course, what we're really doing is bracketing, right? Just like if we were actually firing in direct fire. That was a little strong. We got 1 left here. We just got this one guy. Bam. Got it? Alright, we got it.
You did it, War Master.
No time to celebrate. The undead are making one last push.
The Orients dare to strike at our keep. Well, They shall see how a cornered lion fights.
I'm itching to get some.
All right.
With that little wall trick. Let's join
So here's our chance to kind of push back, right? We've taken down their siege engines, so we got some room for maneuver here. If we're going to defend the Vigil, which admittedly, like, this is a big, formidable building, right? Like, I don't know that we're quite in panic mode yet, you know? Not like Claw Island was, where we had people on the walls and inside of our wire and stuff. Like, we're not experiencing that here, although we did have some folks up here. I think probably we're in a pretty good spot to fight back and still take back what is ours. And then ultimately maybe even push on Claw Island. But one thing at a time. How did this get changed? Or did I always have it like that? I think I actually always had it like that. Where was it?
Fight to
Yeah,
your
I did.
last breath.
Okay.
To your last bit of courage. We stand between tyranny and death, and we cannot win. More, come here.
Alright. Let's keep going. Get these guys up. What a mess. What a mess. Alright. We got everyone? We got a whole mess of people, honestly. One thing that I do feel that they do a decent job of much of the time is like scale, right? Especially given what they have to work with. And we get that in a lot of... Oh, that was a waste of skill. We get that in a lot of these where... How many total enemies have we seen over this, right? Like, we've seen a pretty decent number. We got a number of allies here, too. So, while it's not, like, amazing the scale, it's enough to, you know, help appreciate the story and kind of what's being told here, right? Alright, so we should, you know, not only are we holding out, but actually, you know, we're pushing in a little bit deeper each time. Part of that is, you know, the game being easier than ever, right?
It's their leader. Take her down
And now this Vizier, different from, you know, the Vizier, you know, this is, you know, we should not be viewing any relationship here between, like, this Vizier and Kilbron necessarily, any more than it's a title, right? Vizier is a title. All right, we've taken him down. We have defended Vigil Keep.
Well done, Crusaders. The Orions are defeated and the keep is safe. 3 cheers for the Vigil.
Hurrah! Victory for the Vigil!
It is fortunate that we arrived when we did. Those undead were about to overrun the keep. The Pale Tree is very wise. If Vigil Keep had fallen, we'd never be able to defend Lion's Arch.
Do you remember what she said? With unity, many impossible things can be achieved. She's right, Traherne. The Vigil can't fight Zaitan alone. The dragon is too powerful. But there is another way.
Whatever you're planning, know that I will stand with you.
Thank you, Traherne. Come, let's talk to General Soulkeeper.
All right, so what is the commander thinking here? And what is General Soulkeeper going to have to say about it?
Warmaster, your timing was fortuitous. You and Traherne have saved our order.
It was our honor. If you don't mind, we need to brief you on recent events. Much has occurred in a very short time.
General, I've become convinced that the Vigil can't stand against Zaitan alone. We may have an army, but we don't have the information or resources.
Huh. If it were anyone other than you, War Master, I might think you were a coward. But after what you did on the field today, continue.
The other orders of Tyria are as concerned about the dragons as we are. The Vigil should speak with them and launch a unified effort.
Speak with them? But the Order of Whispers are underhanded backstabbers, and the Priory are simpering scholars.
You're wrong, Efoot. They simply have their own ways of fighting Zaitan. Both will be staunch allies in this war.
I don't like it, and I don't trust them. But I do trust you, War Master. And I trust Traherne. If he says we're up against overwhelming odds, I believe him.
Go to the other orders. Set up a meeting. Tell them the Vigil offers an alliance.
Thank you, General. I'll do everything I can.
All right. So that does actually represent like a bit of a change, right? Because
Just one more comment.
while we as an individual have a choice between the orders, kind of what we don't see really well until this point, it's not packaged like super great earlier, is that the orders are somewhat at odds. They share a common goal, but are so divergent in methods that they apparently cannot possibly get along. Now, I feel like that's kind of, a little bit much. I mean, if they share that common goal, you would think that certainly that they could, in fact, collaborate, like, without it being so, if the dragons are really such an incredible, imminent existential threat to all life on Tyria, and all three orders recognize this, you wouldn't think that the commander would be the first person to say, hey, maybe y'all should actually get over your differences and team up. And yet, I guess that's what's happened. Now, this is a little bit of a shifting point in the story. A shifting point that I don't like, and I'll try not to bang my drum too much on this, but I really do not get, way into stories. Like Skyrim is a really great example. Like, I think Skyrim's great, especially for its time, right? When Skyrim first came out, it was just incredible, and deserved all the acclaim it got and so forth. But being the Dragonborn, it's like I guess it's okay for a one-player game. I did, after all, love the game. This is not a one-player game, and it really ends up, when all is said and done, I think it does the story a disservice that we kind of get that whole trope of like the chosen one with the commander. And it starts here, where the commander and Traherne, the two of them, show up and rescue the entire Vigil Keep. And now we are the ones who have this apparently incredibly novel idea of people working together. And so this is the shifting point where we go from being a person who is part of something to we start looking a lot like the chosen one. This will really reach like full stupid somewhere around Living World Season 3, and really never throttles back after that point. But that movement towards that sort of storytelling absurdity does start here, and I think in general, keeping in mind this is core story, so really the entire storytelling of Guild Wars 2 has been negatively impacted by that decision to make the player, the commander here,
So, I see Gix stumbled
the
into
chosen one.
library, and the preceptor crawled out of her hole.
I see you're not letting rationality get in the way of your ignorance, Almora. How predictable.
Who are you calling ignorant, you twitchy little bookworm?
Wonderful. I see we're off to a running start. The Order of Whispers needs allies, not infants.
Enough bickering, all of you. Our real enemy lurks across the waves. Zaitan's servants march at the gates of Lion's Arch. We must band together, or we will all be destroyed.
When I joined my order, I swore to fight Zaitan. I will die for Tyria if I must. However, I believe that together we can win. The Vigil has shown tremendous courage in the fight against the dragons. This alliance will require courage as well. Why back down now? The Order of Whispers has seen nations rise and fall. You cannot hide from this threat. You need to make a stand. And who knows more about the dragons than the Priory? Just think of how much there is to learn. Where else but in Ore?
By the worlds of eternal alchemy, you're bold. But you're correct. Knowledge is useless if it is not used. We shall aid you.
The Order of Whispers has worked for generations to bring nations together. We can do no less now. Our blades are yours.
The Vigil fears nothing, not even ill-tempered, undisciplined louts like these two. We'll join, but I insist there's a decent hierarchy. Who will lead this compact?
Logic dictates that it cannot be a member of any of our orders, lest one be seen as above the other two. Quite a conundrum.
I've already considered that. Traherne, you've never joined an order, yet they all respect you. You've studied Ore all your life. Will you lead us?
I never wanted to be a soldier. I'm only a seeker of truth. But, yes, I will lead this pack to the gates of Ara, and together, we will see Zaitan destroyed. First, to Claw Island. Let us send our defiant message straight into the heart of Ore. Tyria stands as one.
All my life, I've watched.
Okay, so a lot of cutscene there, a lot of two people facing each other, talking at each other. Dude, to kind of get to the point where, okay, we understand now that the three orders are in fact going to try to work together. It is now known as the Pact. So now the three different orders are one thing, the Pact. We also, Traherne now is the Marshal, so he is a leadership. They're going to be united under Traherne, with us kind of assisting him. So now we're dangerously close, right? To, even though, yes, there's still Traherne kind of ahead of us, we're now just that 1 degree removed from what I was just talking about, this like weird character power creep of who we are. A couple of the quick things while we're here. You'll see that Halvora was speaking on behalf of the Order of Whispers. If you go to the Order of Whispers storyline, you'll realize that actually Real is the senior one, but in typical like Order of Whispers fashion, they conceal who the decision maker is. And Gix is the speaker, or is the one for the German Priory. So we got Gix, Halmora, and Real are actually the three primary people here of the Pact besides Traherne. They're the three decision makers, one for each order. But it's just that for Order of Whispers, that's concealed, and we get the appearance that both Halvora and Dern are senior to Real, when in fact they are not. We'll be interacting with Agent Zod some in the future. There's another Order of Whispers agent that we'll actually be interacting with quite a bit more. We don't see her here right now. Also, real quick, we can't get much closer than like maybe this right here. So very, very early in the Living World experience, they introduce, which is after this. I don't want to insert spoilers, but I do. When we get to that point and we start learning about like South Sun Cove, this was the initial portal for that in Old Lion's Arch before Old Lion's Arch was destroyed. And we don't get very many chances to get like a good look at it, but it's that right there. The whole Old Lion's Arch being like to a degree inaccessible, unless you get the that achievement for the reintroduction of Season 1. All right, so still level 60 story. This should be, as I recall, the last instance for it. Let's get this knocked out and see if we can, as the title implies, we can achieve some retribution and retake Claw Island and kind of, rescue. We're not gonna. Unlikely we're gonna be rescuing anyone. Like our comrades are risen now, but again, gain retribution. That really is what we're doing here. All right, Snarl. We remember Snarl. We went out of our way to bring Snarl on board. And of course, who is he talking about? Talking about Galena. So, even when they were introduced, like it kind of came off as like they didn't like each other, but then we start to get the feel that maybe it's just that the writers, are trying to create tension, that there's tension there. And so, we're going to start getting a little bit more of that as we get more exposure to them. Right, so now, me and the old girl will be right behind you. The gun, he's talking. Right, buddy. So maybe our initial impression of what their interaction was may not be completely accurate. Ephod, Dorn, Winnet. So kind of the two I see is really what we're seeing right there for each of the orders.
Marshal Traherne, sir. I'm Ephod, liaison for the Vigil troops. The Lion Guard are clearing some road, but the inner courtyard gate is blocked.
My Priory explorers brought a biomantic siege capacitor, Marshal. Our top mystics have been working on it for some time. It could be useful.
I've heard of that device. Whisper's agent stole a copy of the blueprints, but we couldn't figure out your bizarre telemetry. There's a working prototype?
Of course. Nothing's beyond the Priory's intelligence. Unfortunately, it's a portable model, so it lacks the power to blast through a fortified gate.
What if we amplified this capacitor in some way?
Clever. The signal towers use magical panels to increase brightness. If we reversed the panel's direction and adjusted the enchantment, we could amplify the beam.
It's improvised, off the cuff, and madcap. But it just might work. Still, there are far too many undead between here and the signal tower.
Leave that part to me. The Vigil may not understand your boo-boo-matic wheeze calculator, but we know plenty about killing undead.
Then we have a plan. Commander Ephod, move out. Your crusaders can guide the way.
So I genuinely feel this is a situation when less might have been more. They almost tried to make that sound like it made sense in some way. It has no need to make sense. Alright, so we're going to get this thing up there, and again, because they tried to explain this unnecessarily, use the panels on this to somehow, amplify the capability of this box over here. I really do feel like that was a situation where if you try and explain yourself to the viewer, the reader, the player, whatever the case may be, too much, then you may put yourself at a disadvantage where now what you did just simply doesn't make sense. You could have just allowed it to not make sense instead of trying to explain it and it not making sense. Just the same, that's what we're going to do. So Zot here, he's carrying the Boobomatic Wheeze calculator, which obviously is not what they call, but what they called also makes no sense at all. So we're going to stick to Boobomatic Wheeze calculator, and we're going to get that up here so we can presumably amplify it in some capacity. Now, one area where we have seen this is a good reminder, right, of one area where we've seen a lot of growth out of them in terms of how they develop the game is throughout the core story. This is true of the entire core story, right? And I'm not saying they did a bad job. It's just that they've demonstrated growth. Throughout the core story, this was how they made a challenge. By creating, by putting enemies in your path and then making you walk along that path and defeat enemies. The more challenging, more enemies. Or stronger enemies. That was the recipe, right? It's understandable how that happened. But at some point, it certainly was not a sustainable model, when they started adding more content, right? So the difference between how that what constitutes difficult at this point in the game, even though we're sneaking up on we're not quite to level. This is the high level 60, so the assumption was that you know, players would only be 12 or 13 levels away probably from max level playing in this. And then very soon we're going to be at like, you know, level 80 story. We're going to be at max level story. And yet there will be a huge difference between what we see there and what we see in the remake of Season 1 or anything thereafter. And that's because they recognized that they needed to do a lot more to make it engaging. That it wasn't just throw more enemies at them or throw stronger enemies at them to be, you know, to create a fun challenge. And I think they learned that well and did a pretty good job of finding other ways to make things interesting. Alright. So if we could just get Zot some gum, he'll be able to attach the Boo-Boo-Matic Wheeze calculator to this. Which actually, like, the way it was described, again, because they made the mistake of trying to describe it, it should be up here somewhere. It should actually be using, like, the panels of the lighthouse. But, you know, we won't get too hung up on that. You know, we can fill those gaps with, you know, with our own imagination and just assume that Zot, you know, did what he needed to do because he's highly, highly capable.
Hold on to your helms. One reconstellated configurer coming up.
Okay. Zot, super happy, now very proud of himself. Look how smug that... Oh, now he's gone. He did look extremely smug, right before literally disappearing into thin air. Alright, so with the gate down, now we can make a real push. It is interesting. It makes for like a fun little thing here. Like we're doing fun things. But it's weird to think... Okay, had we made a different choice, by the way, after talking to the Mother Tree... Line Guard Apatia would be like way more relevant to us. Okay, she'd be super important to us. If we had chosen the one where somebody suffers, you know, endures like horrible suffering because of our actions or something, she would be really relevant to that story because she would be the one, unfortunately, who experiences horrible suffering as a result of like our failures. Oh, and look, we got Snarl with us. Is Galena here too? I don't see her. However, we made a different choice, so I don't know that we're going to see Line Guard Apatia again.
Well done. We've secured the docks.
What about the courtyard, Marshal? That big dragon thing will be on us the minute we charge in there.
We need to retake the ramparts and deploy siege weapons. Then we can cover the sky while we clear the courtyard.
I can help there. Priory alchemists have crafted special ammunition to weaken champions like that one. We can force that monster to the ground.
Once you get it down, we'll get it dead. Put your trust in Vigil Steel.
All right. So Traherne is going to get to a certain point, right? And that's for a couple reasons. One, to deploy siege weapons to try and control this area. But also it's going to allow him to kind of have a good vantage point on the battle, and thus he'll be able to do like packed martial things, right? So that's also relevant. So we're going to help Traherne get to where he needs to be. And this is a pretty good spot for it, right? Like, look, he can survey the whole, like, battlefield here, and then, remember, this is where the dragon crashed through, so if we anticipate fighting the dragon again, that might be relevant. Alright, Traherne, what's up? Okay, so we got 3 different positions that we need to claim in order for siege to be set up. And we see that there's like broken siege engines over here by these points, right? So it's not like the craziest thing in the world where, you know, these are apparently established siege positions that we just need to reestablish. Hey now, don't appreciate that. Oh gosh, we're gonna go down actually. Poison damage. Oh. Oh. Is that our first time going down on the story playthrough? And at level 60, it's kind of a shame, actually. I was really hoping that wouldn't happen until Season 1. Alright. Our pet can help get us up, though. Get over here, you dumb gazelle. Super. Okay. So we've claimed this area. Now we got the siege weapon up. We got a prior engineer here to operate it. Everything's good. Let's go to the next spot. Alright, we don't have to deal with Hylic again. So Hylic really dumped that poison on you, right? That's how I let that embarrassing thing happen. Less of a concern here. Oh, more of a concern, though, if I mess up my skills. The crate aren't quite as bad, although we still, you know, benefit us to get this guy dead. Alright, there we go. Oh, Galena's down. Oh, don't let Snarl see. Snarl will be pretty upset. Snarl, look over in the courtyard. What do you see over there, buddy? Alright, Galena's back up. Now, this is really cool. Super cool right here, right? If we had chosen the Norn guy instead, this would be like a trebuchet like it was over there. Or a catapult. I can't remember which. I think it'd be a treb, though. And Galena wouldn't be here. It'd just be a normal engineer. Instead, because we chose Galena, Galena is here with the same Char siege weapon that we saw when we went to recruit them in the first place. Right? It'll also use a different ordnance, which doesn't necessarily impact the fight that's to come later. But is like a fun cosmetic touch that they put, you know, that level of detail into it and so forth. I do really like that. So, fun things there. Oh no. So we got a Snarl with us, I think, still, but Galena's gonna stick up there and she's gonna man this this cannon, and we'll get to see it fire here in a minute. Alright, almost there. Oh, look at that. Good for us.
I could outrun a centaur.
It's actually amazing, like all the achievements that we didn't get during 0 to 0. And how, you know, certain things that we barely touched in the 0 to 0 at all. And now we're getting it in the story playthrough, which is kind of wild. Because story playthrough is generally not associated with, like, any real accomplishments. Okay, so now that we got the siege engine set up, we can start to try and drive the enemy out of the central courtyard here. You know, kind of lame, but also, you know, a necessary. Holding ground is a necessary part of warfare. So, not a crazy idea that we got to find a way to take, you know, this courtyard back. At the end of the day, you don't own Claw Island if you don't own the courtyard, right? Now, believe it or not, because it's easy sometimes with this stuff to assume that the NPCs are, like, aesthetic. Like, all this is happening just to take a look. They do a little bit of damage. They don't do a lot of damage. They really, really do not. But they do actually do a little bit of damage to these, vets here who are slowly. See how that health bar is down, and it is slowly, slowly, slowly dropping down. Especially now that it's the only one left, and all these NPCs can kind of do their thing. So in theory, the siege engines won't get themselves up, but once the siege engines are up, you could just kind of park your character and go AFK, and this part of the event would actually finish itself. Or this part of the story, I mean. I don't recommend it, but it would, it might take a 10 minutes or so, but it would happen. Alright, so Galena's, see that? She fires a different round than the others do. It's that glowy blue round. And so there we see the bone wall, as mentioned earlier. And now we're ready to fight Blightgast. So we do see, not Tequatl, different name, Blightgast. And we will see some more of these with the same model later on in the story as well. But it is also Tequatl's model. Ooh, that was a mouthful. And it is, in my opinion, a very good one of their better kind of designs, or one of their better enemy models that they incorporated into the game. Ooh, I got too close to the poison. Oh no! Oh my gosh. Yeah, so if you get up in here underneath the dragon, like that Lightbringer just did, bad decision, Lightbringer. If you get up in there, and I tried doing it so that I could use Whirling Defensor, you'll get those stacks of really nasty poison that can't be cleansed the way like normal poison can. It's its own effect, and it kind of jacks you up pretty good. It was really a mistake on my part. I shouldn't have done. All right. So this also, much like I mentioned a minute ago with the courtyard, same thing is true here. If you leave them alone, all these folks, they will eventually defeat Blightgast. And you don't have to do anything at all. We could have stayed back here in the fort. Blightgast would eventually go down, right? But if we're going to be the sole rescuer of all of Tyria, then maybe we should actually fight dragons and stuff. So that's what we're going to do. So it's a bit of a silly fight, right? And this again speaks to how far they've come in their content design, because this is what like a lot of world bosses were like, and this is what a lot of hey, kill the foot, like, and that's not super rewarding, right? So they have come a long way in their encounter design. From a storytelling perspective, though, this is a big deal. I'm not sure why the dragon literally went flying backwards like that. I guess it tried to take off and then toppled over.
Claw Island, and in so doing saved Lion's Arch as well. I do not know what lies ahead of us, my friend, but for the first time, I have hope. Hope that this alliance can save Tyria from the dragons. Hope for the future. Hope for all.
So like I was saying, it's meant to communicate.
Go get some rest. Got a lot of work ahead of us.
Is he talking to me? I'm way down here. Who are you talking to, Traherne? Presumably he's talking to me. Okay. The more important dialogue to actually happen here is there's lots of little dialogue, though, taking place between these different groups, right? So we got a Whispers character right here. And then we got a Vigil, and then over here, Whispers talking to Vigil, and well, there's Snarl and Galena. We're gonna we'll leave them alone. I'm sure they have plenty to talk about. We got a lot of Whispers now. Over here, Whispers and Priory, and
there's a soft spot under the ribcage. You didn't know?
I do now. Well done.
all that right there. So all this dialogue is meant to show that there's like this, this softening between these different components, right? These different the different orders are warming up to each other because of this big victory, right? No, I did not do this. Like, again, why are we attributing so much to Commander? We did this, but yes, go team. Good job. It's almost insulting to the players that like our egos need to be fed to this degree. I don't know though. A lot of players do though. A lot of players need that out of video games. Apparently, they have so little like self-worth in their actual life that they need to be like the thing, I guess, in their video games. I don't know. I would much prefer to just be a member of the Vigil or a member of the Priory or whatever. But we don't get that. Instead, without your spirit to guide us and Traherne, so Traherne, the Marshal, is second to us. We would surely have failed. Again, I don't feel that way. Look at all these people out here, all of whom fought the dragon, but okay. Apparently, it was all me.
Well done, Crusaders. Bravely fought.
Bravely fought. But not as bravely as the commander.
Will it last? Those other orders, can we trust them?
You can because I'm here. Because I'm the only thing that matters in Guild Wars 2. I showed... Yeah, it's just ridiculous, man. Who writes these things? Like I said, sometimes they hit the mark, sometimes they don't. Okay. Let's go talk to Traherne, and then let's end this. Alright, Traherne, what do you think of the whole experience, buddy? Are we going to stand here on the edge? People are going to think you're a jumper, dude. Like, I want to get down onto, like, where normal people stand. But okay, what's up, Traherne?
This is a momentous day. The tide of history has changed, Traherne.
Indeed. Many people doubted. Even the Orders weren't truly certain it could be done. Never before has Tyria been so united. Let Orr hear the echo of this battle. We can defeat the dragons. We will.
Zhaitan waits at the center of Orr, surrounded by a nation of undead. The battle to destroy the dragon will not be easy, but it can be won.
There is a ruined fortress at the edge of Orr, south of the Shattercleft Hills. From that high cliff, you can see the spires of Orr rising beyond the Straits of Devastation. We will take this fort and make it our own. The Pact will rebuild it. We will place our banners, and from there we will strike at the dragon's heart. I will make plans with the leaders of the Orders and gather troops at that location. You deserve some well-earned rest, my friend. Join me when you are ready, and together we will find a way to slay Zhaitan.
So this idea that we're getting rest, right? It seems ridiculous under the current, the way we would currently play the game. I suppose if this was your first playthrough and you were playing the story as you leveled, and the way it was originally done is we didn't get these these leaps in level here, where it's like, okay, levels. This is the level 60 story. That's not how the game was at launch. And at launch, the story was not in any way whatsoever like level bound or anything like that. They did that because of key farming, and then they just extended it through the entire level 80 experience. But at launch, you could play you could play this as a level 20 or whatever. That totally was a thing. You would need somebody of a higher level to join you. So I often would play a level 60, quote unquote level 60 story at a lower level. I would often be a level 50 something here or even lower. But then at some point you're going to need to level to catch up if you do that. So that kind of made a lot more sense at launch, that if you were playing this particularly under leveled, that you would have some catching up to do before you go to Orr. Because at launch you could not go to Orr under leveled or not significantly under leveled at least because it was bad enough at level 80. And of course that's changed drastically as well too. All right, do we have any questions? The Pact, how does it function? Each would designate an individual leader, all reporting to Traherne. Okay, giving Traherne a lot of power, but all right. So Dern, Winnet, and Ephod. We've already seen that. We've seen Dern, Winnet, and Ephod at the front of their respective orders, right? So the question, because I'm Vigil, am I reporting to Ephod? No. We are second command to Traherne, so we're already we already got this lofty thing. Only Traherne is ahead of us in terms of this whole shebang. So now we need a foothold, right? If we're going to advance against the Elder Dragon, we need a foothold, and that's what he's talking about here. It needs a name that will inspire those stationed there. Uh, well, 3 groups coming together as one. How about Fort Trinity? So I don't know if that's actually the process by which they came up with the name, or if they had a cool idea for a name and then they were able to kind of fit it. So I don't know how that worked out. It's a cool name though, and it works well for the game. And of course, now that I've been playing the game for 10.5 years, Fort Trinity is very much a thing in my head because I've been seeing it for so long. So it's perfect. Let's meet there. All right, we got our mastery point for advancing the story, and now finally, 2 hours 34 minutes it took for the level 60 story, after taking all of about 25 minutes for the level 50 story. We have advanced. We're ready for the level 70 story. Future's headquarters is already under construction, but there is another matter. Okay, so before we get to Fort Trinity, we need to link up with Traherne in Concordia, and that's where we are going to pick up for the level 70 story, but that is not where we're not going to take care of that right now because other things are going on. So let's kind of wrap up where we're at right now. Level 60 story was a lot, right? We got follow-on orders regarding our role within the Vigil, went to Lion's Arch to investigate some missing folks, and actually discovered an imminent attack on the part of Zaitan against Lion's Arch, which did in fact take place. We tried to prevent it, we failed, and Zaitan successfully took Claw Island over here, which is kind of controls entry into, and that's we see like the ships here. These are actually supposed to be destroyed ships from when Lion's Arch was initially flooded and so forth. But just the same, this controls entry into Lion's Arch. Zaitan took this. Fortunately, we were able to, find some allies to help us in the battle, and then we defended the Vigil headquarters up here, Vigil Keep, from an attack from Zaitan, and ultimately retook Claw Island. And now we're starting to feel like we're ready to take on Zaitan directly, right? In that process, the 3 orders combined forces and are now known as the Pact, and we are the second in command for the Pact to Marshal Traherne, a Sylvari necromancer that we met, who is now the Marshal of the Pact. So a lot of things. Level 60 is really a lot of things. And now we're kind of going forward, level 70 and then all the level 80 content up through the rest of the core story is really kind of single-mindedly to go straight at Zaitan. But there are going to be some slight detours along the way, and the next step is a little bit one of those, but is necessary. We're going to be meeting Traherne at Concordia because he's got some concerns related to the establishment of the Pact. So we're going to find out more about that. So that is where we were at, and that is where we'll pick up next time. I appreciate you joining me, and hopefully things will slow down for me a little bit in terms of the circus that has been my life, and we can get to that in the next few days. So looking forward to that. I appreciate it, and I will see you then.